Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. So happy to welcome David Chapman and Dwayne Henderson from the Wilderness Center Woodcarvers Club. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
One of the fun things about our awesome Wilderness Center is all the affinity clubs that they have. And one of the ones that's near and dear to all of our hearts is the Woodcarvers. So tell me, David, let's start with you. How did you get involved with this?
One of the fellows from the Carvers Club by the name of Don Plaster ran into him at Lowe's, and we got to chit-chatting and found out that we had a mutual interest in wood carving. Of course, he was active. I was not. But he invited me to one of the club meetings on a Saturday morning, and the rest is history. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in wood carving?
A fellow from church by the name of Bill Miller kind of introduced me to the idea. I understood the concept and the like, but he was doing it, and he kind of taught me some of the basics. But after hanging out with Don and another friend by the name of Jim Holman, I really got the bug. And it's been a passion ever since. There's
something to it. I think it brings out the artistic in a lot of people who didn't realize that they were artistic before that. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, and also it's a great way to melt your memory or your problems in the rearview mirror, so to speak, and totally focus on being creative and. You find things about yourself that you never even realized was inside of you. At least that was my particular instance.
I think of almost like a group of guys fishing together where maybe not much is said, but there's a lot of communication, a lot of fellowship, just sitting around and whittling away.
One of the things that I was shocked, the first time I sat down with Don and Jim, and we began carving. They didn't know me from squat for the most part, and I'm sitting there and looking at the stuff they're working on, and I'm going, "Oh my word!" And they said to me, "We have no secrets. If you want to know something, ask." Wow! And I thought to myself, "That's a switch." Because I come from the banking industry, where that
wasn't the vibe there.
No, you don't get that kind of communication. So that was very special.
I'm amazed that people are able to look at a block of wood and see something there other than a block of wood and take away everything that's not the piece of art and end up with a piece of art. How does that happen? It's like backwards drawing.
Yeah, it's really, I've been trying to explain it to people. It just, I don't know, I guess it takes a special mind to, like you said, look at something, see something in there, and then just take away all that stuff that don't belong there, and just, your mind just keeps going, and you see how close you get, and then you got this... to that person, usually a pretty nice carving. Might be not to some people.
And a one of a kind. That's what's amazing as well.
I found out that, and I guess because it's been such a part of my life, in other areas, most people don't see things in 3 dimension. No. As far as looking at a block of wood, everybody just sees a block of wood.
Yes.
But to be able to visualize something in 3 dimensions before it actually takes form, I guess is you either have it or you don't have it. And then it's a matter of cultivating it from there. And I was surprised because I thought everybody thought the way I thought or saw things the way I see.
No, they do not. Is this something that can be taught or not?
Years ago, there... I can't think of the guy's name right now. He was a very famous minister, wrote a book called Peak to Peak. In other words, when you get to one peak or mountain peak, you're able to see the next one. And I think for especially the beginners, you take on that kind of mindset. Hey, let's climb the first mountain, and as we reach the first mountain, then you're able to see more clear the next mountain. And I think carving is kind of along that same mindset. And the more you do it, of course, the easier it is to understand or anticipate the next peak.
There's all kinds of different techniques, aren't there? Just trying to figure. I think of people just smoothing something away and making like just something that's almost like a lifelike facsimile of a duck or a goose or something like that. And then there's the do they call it chip carving or something like that, where you just take little pieces out and until you end up with. What other techniques are there that we might be interested in learning about?
Need some help with that one?
Yeah. Thanks.
Dwayne's newer to this.
Yeah, he's the new kid on the block. There's several different, you have what we call relief carving, which would be like a penny.
Yes.
Would be a good example of a relief carving. That'd be very shallow relief. But then you have your more deep relief. There's some deep relief carvings that go several inches into a piece of wood. And that's almost what you would call in the round, which is basically like a sculpture. You're able to see all four sides of a particular object.
Very cool.
Then you have, like you mentioned, chip carving, which oftentimes is usually duplicating geometrical designs, and they do it with it's kind of like a 4-step process. And you have to really understand the grains of the wood and how the grain is running, and that's a whole different science in itself.
It looks tough. It looks hard.
It's a matter of rules of the game, and once you understand the rules of the game, then it's just a matter of perfecting your angles and how to hold your knife.
So close up, it looks like one thing, as you say, the geometric shapes. Stand back, and you've got a picture of something. It's
exactly
amazing.
Yep.
So, Dwayne, you are the new kid on the block. What was it that drew you to this?
I've been going to the wood carving shows for 3 years or so, and I've been wanting to join and. Started talking to a lot of the guys there. It's like David said, they're really nice. They help you out. If you got a problem, they work through it with you. And if you need to know how to do something, they're there to show you. And I thought, okay, I have the time now, and I'm going to give it a shot. And
you're enjoying it?
Yes, very much. Very much.
What is it about working with wood that's so special? I'm thinking of all the things that Jesus could have been when he came, that he decided to work with wood, I think is fascinating. Is there something to that? Or am I just so off base?
Well, you got a live tree, which God created. And it gets cut down and cut up, and it's, what's the word I want to say? It's just there. It's not living yet anymore. So you get out your knife and you bring it back to life.
Oh my gosh! And that was just off the top of your head. That's quite an amazing analogy. That's pretty cool. The wood carvers. When do you meet, and how can somebody get involved if they're interested?
We meet on the 2nd and 4th Saturday of every month, and usually we get together. They're at the Wilderness Center just outside of Wilmot at 9:30 in the morning, and we usually have a very short business meeting. Then we have a show and tell. Everybody kind of shares what their latest project that they've completed or are in the midst of working on, and then we sit down and just kind of hang out with each other and make wood chips. And if somebody's got a problem or a question, they'll go to some of the more experienced carvers and say, hey, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, and what do you think we can do to make this happen or get around this problem or what? And everybody's more than willing to share their 2 cents worth. And usually that's really was the big thing that I think shortened my learning curve, was just hanging out with some of those people and getting the pick their brains.
There are some very accomplished wood carvers.
Oh,
are there not?
with a doubt.
Award-winning.
Yes.
And you get to just kind of hang out with them and watch them work and learn from
Yes, ma'am.
one another.
Yes, ma'am. Wanda.
Welling?
Yeah. What? Wetling.
Wetling.
Yeah.
Wetling. Thank
Yeah.
you. I forgot the T's.
I drew a blank on that one. She's an older lady. She's struggling with her health right at the moment, but she's in one of the halls of fame for wood carvers. To tell you which one it is, I don't know. But if you ever get an opportunity to see her duck decoys and some of her other work, it is absolutely
phenomenal.
It'll make your jaw drop.
Yeah, her birds are amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, just amazing. But there's others as well. It seems like everybody kind of finds their own niche and perfects what they do.
Yeah.
Tom
Tom Dryden, another fellow in our group, he's from the Canton area. He's got a now that he has that, I mean, you put your nose next to the nose of that owl and if you wonder if it's going to reach out and bite your nose. It's just amazing and what he can do with that.
And making things into other things. I love to see that. This was a fad for a while where someone would take the club head of an old golf club and turn it into a duck. We have several of those because every time we see one, we must have it because it's just so cool.
It was a popular thing a few years back, yes.
Okay. Well, you mean it's not anymore?
Well, everything runs its course, I guess.
Sure. What's the fad now? What's the cool thing now?
Well, you know what? The hot thing seems to be right now that we're just finding out is our owls.
Oh, okay.
People want an owl, and they don't. It can be stylized, it can be realistic, but they're very popular. And another thing that seems to be very interesting are what we call comfort crosses. Or comfort birds.
Yes.
And they are crosses and birds that can be held in the palm of your hand, and they're made in such a way that they just melt right in your hand.
Yeah.
And we try to make them very, very smooth, and people, like they say, they find them very comforting to hold them and just kind of touch them. And we've given literally hundreds of them away to folks that are in the hospital or struggling with health problems or emotional problems. And they seem to be a very positive thing.
Very, very cool. Do you do any projects as a group anymore? I know at some point you used to do that, or does everybody just kind of do their own thing while you're hanging out and carving?
No, we do a group thing. Like David brought in a piece of wood, gave to everybody, and plans on a cupcake.
Oh, cool.
That was really cool. Some of them came out, I mean, almost like you could eat them.
That would be great.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, how cute.
Another thing that we did this year, and we are in a process of kind of beginning to that finalized form or part of it. One of the ladies that we know is involved with Franklin Graham and his program that he has where he fills these boxes full of things to give to the kids at Christmas time overseas.
Samaritan's Purse.
Something I think
Operation Christmas Child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And anyway, we came up with a spork design that we created, and we cut up a bunch of cherry wood and handed out rough outs to everybody, and we're in the process now of trying to get them back so we can get them soaked in mineral oil and get them finalized so that we can put them in the boxes for the kids.
Oh, what a neat idea. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I know that you've got a very important show coming up. We need to take a short break. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.